Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 239, I believe. No, what am I saying? 239. It's 329. Yes, thank you guys for being here. It is the 15th year, Trini Hotep. I was wrong. It's 329. It is the 15th of January. Midway through January already. You know, people regularly like to complain about January. January takes too long and all of that kind of stuff. But I mean, 15 days already gone in January. It doesn't feel like it's been around that long, and January feels like it's already going quickly. So I will not be having any of the January slander, any of the shade towards January and the hatred. We will have none of it on the podcast. None of it on the live. All right, people. Today we're talking police issues, as regularly happens here in Trinidad and Tobago, because we are a crime-infested country. A country as violent and crime-infested as we are, police become a high priority issue. I saw an article by a veteran journalist, Paulo Kernahan, and he was criticizing our commissioner, and our commissioner taking some props for the little 5% decreases and the small decreases here and there, and he laid in on her. And then I saw our Minister of National Security responding to a journalist, as it were upbraiding the journalist, finding that he talks too negatively and like I look at these things and I'm thinking, who trains these people politically? How is it possibly any sense in a country where people are dying by the grop? People are dying in the grop. We are Caribbean people here. We understand what grop means. People dying in the grop, by the grop. And you, as the Minister of National Security, are going to try and pick between the weeds to find out where a journalist criticized the commissioner, and he may not have done it exactly in the best manner. Are you insane? While you're typing that nonsense status, another person was murdered. Like, come on, man. Come on, man. Jeez. Like, beside the ability and capabilities and all of that of the present group of governors, the people in charge, they are an abrasive bunch with such stars as the Honorable Doctor himself, the Finance Minister, the Minister of National Security. These men are as smooth and tasty as aloes. The St. Paul Street raid I saw all over social media, and I heard the people arrested was part of the highway shootings. What? That doesn't make sense, because the people who were shot on the highway were from the side that were arrested on St. Paul Street. So I don't know how you arrest the people who were murdered for their own murder. That doesn't make sense. Now, the allegations in Trinidad and Tobago have been going around a while now. Between those number guys, if you pay attention to the online ramblings, etc., between those number guys, there are allegations going on a while now that police are on a particular side. One of those numbers have been in existence for a bit longer in different incarnations, and their leader has been associated with high-profile people for a bit longer, and there are allegations that they are in cahoots with the police. I don't know that to be true, but I know now that one side was raided, one alleged leader was taken into custody, a lot of aggravation was placed in the geographical location of one of the purported sides in the warfare. It would be very interesting to me if, as time goes on, it remains so one-sided. If you raid one area, I would expect reasonably, being outside of this, bear in mind, I don't know what information the police may or may not have had. Maybe they're working on intelligence and that's why they went down there, and maybe that's all true. But as an onlooker, good evening, Kervon. As an onlooker, I am looking on to see if it continues seeming a bit lopsided. Because I read the news a lot. I have seen numerous occasions, at least more than two, where the police have arrested an alleged leader of one side, and then they release him in some distant place and an attempt is made on his life while he's attempting to crawl back into where he's from. These things are very interesting to me because I'm not interested in the police getting themselves involved in one side versus the other. I'm interested in the police solving crime, cleaning up the entire thing. If you get yourself involved one side or the other, that just makes the thing worse in the long run. You're making it worse in the long run. So I would hope that's not the case and they are continuing and they're just working from one area move forward. I would hope so. Woy, Nisi, what's the good? As usual, everyone, once you're on the inside, make sure you hit that like button, double tap the screen, hit that screen 2 times over there. On TikTok, if you're wondering how to hit the like button over there, you see no like button, you double tap the screen, and voila, you see a little heart pop up there. And you can do that as many times as you like. And I would hope that you like doing it many times. And if you are looking at this on repeat over there on YouTube, please do take that time out to hit that like button too. It does help. It really does help. It lets the algorithm know, hey, this is some good stuff. Send it out to some more people. Share it out. And if you are not yet subscribed to Nathan Springer over there, please go over there. You may have the opportunity yet to be one of the first 1,000 to subscribe. I'm currently 960 something, somewhere around there. So you could help us cross that 1,000 mark. What's your take on the industrial buildings? Which industrial buildings exactly? The lawyers, they have a pretty good as you said, the police are part of the crime situation. I don't know. And I mean, the police made some arrests in St. Paul Street. We don't, I think I heard they charged one person with firearm possession. I'm not sure if they arrested him on that or if they charged him. I can't remember exactly what it was I read, if it was a charge or an arrest. But we don't necessarily know what they charged them with. They could arrest them and they're all out by next week and nothing really comes of it. And it's no real issue neither one way or the other. That may very well be a possibility. Crime is a social issue. You know, I don't actually fully agree with that. I fully agree with that, but I don't fully agree with that. Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I mean by that. Crime is a social issue on an individual basis. So for me and my family, crime is a social issue. So if I have a son, my brothers, my nephews, my cousins, people within our circle, crime is a social issue for us on a society-wide basis. Oh, you mean going down Cuba there, the E-Tech Park that they opened there? No, I'm not Jamaican, I'm Trinidadian. I'm nearly offended. I am nearly offended. My accent isn't even remotely Jamaican. But yes, when we're talking social versus the criminal issue, the social issue on the community and family side, yes, of course, social issue. But when it comes to the National Security Minister, for example, or the Commissioner of Police, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, crime is not a social issue to them. Crime is an issue of practical, realistic solutions dealing with human nature. I don't need the police to go out there and be anybody's daddy and replace the missing daddies in the homes. I need you to go out there and be filled with integrity and arrest anyone who breaks the law and keep violence away from citizens' doorsteps. That's what I want. The kind of crime, let me tell you why I don't like the crime is a social issue statement. Because we'd find people like Mr. Fitzgerald Hines talking about crime is a social issue. And Mrs. Erla, is she a Mrs.? She has a hyphenated name, so I suppose it's Mrs. or Ms., whichever. Miss Erla Christopher Harewood, crime is a social issue. No, it's not. Not to you. It's not a social issue to you. To you, it's your job. You are out there trying to figure out where we put police to make sure that that doesn't happen and make sure we arrest this person and make sure they cannot escape and that you aren't here for the social issue side. But he sounds Jamaican. Nymphoma, I think you are European or something like that, or American or something like that, because I pronounce my H's and I don't pronounce my R's. Well, I don't heavily pronounce my R's. Jamaicans don't pronounce their H's and they heavily pronounce their R's. So that's one way to know for sure. All right. the industrial buildings. I think that's a beautiful idea by itself. It's a beautiful idea to increase the manufacturing in Trinidad, to increase the industry in Trinidad. And it's not just good night, Mr. Appreciation Enjoyer. Hear me, Appreciation Enjoyer, Mr. Moisture Appreciator. Good night. It's a good thing to increase the industry and the manufacturing in Trinidad. That increases the amount of money, it helps the economy, it boosts the economy, all that good stuff. Yes, great. But I believe if I read that correctly, that suitcase company is a Chinese company. And the park itself was built in conjunction with China. So you wonder if it's one of those things where it's a bit of neocolonialism from China, because that's where that's what the allegation is with China's Belt and Road Initiative around the world, particularly in Africa and in the global south. You could wonder whether there will be a sting in the tail when we're talking about this. Now, as it is on the surface level, it sounds like a great idea. More industry, more room for industry and all of that. Beautiful. It sounds beautiful on the surface. If the crime plan for TTPS is to hope for the best and pray temples and churches should be receiving Ministry of National Security budget. Amen, brother. Amen, amen, amen. You know, and it's similar to the social issue side. I'm a believer. I am a believer out here. I believe in God. I believe prayer changes things. I believe in the power of prayer and God out. Beautiful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against God out here. But and added to that, I do think that crime and violence and the degradation of society is a religious, spiritual issue too. It is that people are falling away from God, and if people live a life closer to God and in real consecration to their Lord, they would live a better life. I agree. But that's not Auntie Erla's job. That's not Auntie Erla's job. Like, I have a pastor. I'm sure the Hindu neighbor has their own pundit. There's a mosque not too far from me, and the call to prayer happens on the hour every time it's supposed to happen. So I'm sure they have an imam working the mosque and everything as it should be. So yes, I do believe that the violence in society is a spiritual issue. But Tanti, we didn't hire you as the spiritual leader of the country. Your job isn't organizing the spirituality. Like, if we needed that, we could have hired a minister of national spirituality. But we have a minister of national security. You deal with security from that perspective. The religious side is already, trust me, I go to church. Yes, co-host. Trust me, I go to church regularly. Plenty churches pray for the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. I could speak on the church side. I go to church. I don't know if they do in the temples. I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know if they do in the mosques. I wouldn't doubt it. So, thanks. Don't worry. The pastor's holding down the prayer. You organize the police now. You understand? You organize the police. Most crime is a play for wealth and power. I mean, how you solving that social urge? And you know, that's why I say it is a social issue, yes, but it's not at the same time. Because while yes, there's that social side, the social side is always going to exist. And there are places where the the society is crumbling, but somebody has a strong enough law enforcement that they are able to manage the law even in a crumbling society. Those wicked colonists were able to enter societies that they didn't belong to, enslave the whole society, steal out all their resources, and still have a lower crime rate than Trinidad and Tobago with our free, good society. So, how you could tell me it's a social issue when societies where they were enslaving and stealing everything, they were somehow able to manage law enforcement in a way to keep it functional? And don't think for a second that law enforcement is a new thing. The TTPS has been around for 400 years. So, in a technical sense, TTPS may be performing worse than they have ever done. By the statistics. Interestingly enough. Let me jump into some of these articles here. Hey, where did you go? Police probe voice note with threats to top officials. TTPS's descendants of colonizers, literally. The TTPS in its current incarnation is a direct descendant. Not even a descendant, because it's the same organization basically that had their boots on slaves a couple hundred years ago. Use that information as you will. Police probe voice notes with threats to top officials. You know, because our Minister of National Security was real upset about a journalist writing negatively about the commissioner. But this is something that is drawing serious attention. National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines has described as worrying a voice note currently being circulated on social media that has been linked to the country's newest criminal gang, Ghost Gang. In it, an alleged member of the gang warns that they will soon be moving to eliminate warring gang members, politicians, corrupt law enforcement officers, members of the legal fraternity, and the police commissioner. Hines said the 3-minute long audio, which was released on a TikTok account, is being investigated by the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Yeah, the name changed, but it's the same organization. Yes. I don't know how many of you heard that voice note. Someone with a distorted voice saying they're from a new gang. You know? There's a new gang, the Ghost Gang. I don't know where you could find the TikTok account is change.tt5. That's the account the newspaper has there. I got it in some one of those WhatsApp messages. Here's the new gang, the Ghost Gang, and we're gonna do thing and take out this one and take that one, and we don't have this and we don't have that. Very serious affair. Good night, blessed. And the Minister of National Security is promising that the police will get to the bottom of this. Now, if I'm to follow the things as they currently go, I won't say there's much hope there for the TTPS getting to the bottom of this. But for me, I find even sometimes the reaction to these things should be left. Especially when you're referring to people living in protected parts of society. Like, why, as the minister, would you even want to treat this like this is something that should get more attention? The commissioner is protected. The minister is protected. All of these people have guards. Is the regular citizens who aren't protected? And it's not like murders are a very rare thing in the country, so you could spend your time investigating and paying attention to these things. Like, these things, it's a violent country. I believe they can get to the bottom of that. Look how quickly they found the phone. There are certain things you could get to the bottom of easier. Eh? A voice note uploaded to an anonymous TikTok profile will be very difficult to actually get to the bottom of. I don't think that's something you easily get to the bottom of, because you'd need to pierce the TikTok layer. And TikTok is not just going to give you that information. TikTok is not just going to give you that information. So I don't know how exactly they are going to get to the bottom of that. And the police seem to be busy with other matters. Police officers want PSC to probe Earler's conduct in promotion matter. Attorneys representing 93 police officers have written to the Police Service Commission to probe Police Commissioner Earler Harewood Christopher. The attorneys want the PSC to act against the Commissioner for her mishandling of promotions for over 2,000 constables dating back to 2009. In their letter, attorneys Jagdeep Singh, Karina Singh, and Leon Kalicharan reminded the PSC of its powers over the police commissioner, saying that dismissal proceedings can be constituted for breach of contract or reported inefficiency based on performance appraisal. So, if I'm reading this correctly, lawyers for a significant number of police are currently, well, one, they are launching legal action against the police commissioner, and they are asking the Police Service Commission to fire the commissioner. You all read that correctly too, right? You all, well, didn't read it. You all heard that correctly too, right? That's what I'm reading here. I don't know if it's that I didn't pay attention before as much as needed, but has there ever been a case where basically 100 police officers are lobbying for the firing of the police commissioner? Is that something that has been precedented in Trinidad and Tobago before? Because my complaint regularly about police is the way they close ranks. Y'all who are in this live, y'all know I complain about this regularly. I find police too much batch thing in the police. You know, they have each other's back a little too much, even in wrongdoing. That's my complaint. It seems they don't have Tantila's back. They want her out. They want to see her back. The lawyers highlighted that part of the issue stemmed from the fact that the Promotion Advisory Board had not properly met since 2009, creating a backlog of constables to be promoted to corporal. The backlog saw over 2,000 officers listed to be promoted. Our clients are now frustrated, having lost all confidence, subjecting themselves to what ought to have been a fair and transparent process, having regard to the previous prevailing challenges and failures of the Commissioner of Police and the Promotions Advisory Board. So, one of the complaints they made is the attorneys in bolstering their case said one of the issues related to the erroneous deductions of points included the improper placement of women officers as being sick while on maternity leave. Under the heading General Fitness, there was a wrongful classification and computation of maternity leave as sick leave. Now, I don't know whether that would be a positive or a negative thing on your record. I am not sure. But that is something that happened. And one of the errors that happened. And now, what ended up happening is people started getting back their scores. People started getting back their scores. The Sunday Guardian was told that officers came together to file the matter after receiving individual scores, compared it to others and the merit list, and realized that something untoward took place that saw officers with lower ranks being promoted over officers with higher ranks. Officers with higher marks were also bypassed, while their colleagues with lower marks were promoted. After a 3-month wait, officers were given their scores, which they compared with each other last Wednesday. A merit list was compiled after a threat of litigation, and in September last year, over 800 officers rose to the rank of corporal. Some of the officers were on the list as far back as 2009. A review of the individual scores showed an officer attaining 89 points overall and not being promoted, and placed 900th on the merit list. And another officer who scored 87.93 placed 211th and was promoted. The maths not mathsing. The maths not mathsing. Last December, the commissioner apologized for all of that, like the apology is going to do something, and promised to launch an audit to figure out what actually happened. She hired some DCP. The apology came a month after she instructed acting DCP Ramnarayan Samaru to investigate anomalies in the merit list, which saw an influx of legal battles. Now, the officers are suing because they would like to know what's the info on that audit. Attorneys want info on audit of merit list. In their letter, the attorneys requested information in relation to the audit of the merit list that Samaru was supposed to conduct. This included any errors made in recent promotion exercise from constable to corporal, the basis of any decision to conduct an audit into the recently promoted promotion exercise from constable to corporal. What's going on with the host? You're gonna sleep? Finally? Yeah. So, the police want to know, okay, you told this DCP to investigate the matter. Let's know how the investigation went. Now, what's nearly amusing about this is these are things that the public complains about with the police. Where's the accountability? Okay, you launched an investigation. Can you give us an update on the investigation? It's interesting that now police are complaining about the lack of accountability from the police. Didn't the commissioner reach age of retirement sometime last year? Yes, she did. And because of that, I believe it was the Service Commission or some political group had to give her the clearance to extend her retirement. And although her commissioner contract, I believe, was 3 years, you could only get 1 year of retirement extended. That's what I read. Back then, I remember reading that article quite well. So it seemed to me, I'm waiting this year to see how that goes, but it seemed to me like that commissioner could only work 1 year at a time until her retirement gets extended each time. Because the article said they extend the retirement 1 year at a time. So although you might be commissioner for 3 years, you're only really 1 year at a time. And if you're 1 year at a time needing renewal every year, then you are kind of under the control of who renews your contract. And the strange thing is, our government was saying that the reason they wanted to get a substantive commissioner of police, they don't want an acting commissioner of police, because acting, the person doesn't have, they don't have as much authority and power. They don't have that job security that would allow them to really make decisions. Okay, so you get a substantive commissioner, but then you get her on the borderline of retirement, so that in effect, although her name isn't acting commissioner, she still has to function like an acting commissioner with yearly renewals. Seems a bit suspicious to me. And speaking about police and the courts, it's not only there it ends. Gary goes after ex-Police Service Commission chair after Top Cop merit list withdrawn. Former Police Commissioner Double G has trained his guns once again on former Police Service Commission Chairman Bliss Supersad over the withdrawal of the merit list. Griffith has filed a misfeasance in public office claim against Supersad. Newsday understands the matter has not yet been assigned to a judge, but the state has entered an appearance for her despite her being sued in a personal capacity. In his lawsuit, Griffith contends Supersad's actions prevented him from returning as top cop in 2021. And here's the thing. I would like to see this case fought. I would like to see this case fought, because at least as the reported facts in the public space go, there are several things very suspicious about this. Let's see if we could get into some of the details of this. On the merit list issue, his lawsuit contended that Section 123 of the Constitution did not give Supersad, the President, or the Prime Minister the power to withdraw an order of merit list once submitted to the office of the President. Again, I would like to see this in court, because I would like to know, is it a fact that the merit list was really done up, was really sent into the President, and then was really pulled back? Is that so? It is said by withdrawing the merit list and from minutes of the meetings of the Police Service Commission, which he obtained through Freedom of Information requests, it was apparent that Supersad acted unlawfully and without authority, since she never obtained the approval of the PSC. So, what the allegation is here, we're going through the allegations again. The allegation is that this chairman of the Police Service Commission, when the merit list was sent to the President, withdrew that merit list without the say-so of the entire Police Service Commission. She is not legally supposed to act on her own like that. This is the job of an entire commission. You must have the quorum of the commission, 4 commissioners and the chairman. And if the quorum of the commission decided an order of merit list with Double G at the top and sent it up, and then without their knowledge, you went around and took back that list, something seems afoot. At trial, the claimant will maintain that in so withdrawing the merit list, the defendant knowingly acted unlawfully and unconstitutionally also acted with reckless disregard for the limits on her power and the effect and harm that her actions would have on the professional reputation and interest of the claimant. The same allegation was made against C. Prasad and Griffith's suspension. The former top cop's lawsuit contended that C. Prasad's withdrawal of the merit list, on which he was the top-ranked candidate, and her unilateral and unlawful suspension of him resulted in grave and extensive harm to him, as he lost the opportunity to be appointed commissioner for another 3 years. It's interesting here. But wouldn't that indict our former president? Well, it might, but he isn't suing her. He is suing the commissioner because he's alleging that, well, the chairman of the commission, because he's alleging that she was the one who withdrew the merit list. So it's not exactly on the president, because the president said she never received it fully. It was sent, but she never received it. So she may not be indicted in that at all. The question might be, who pulled the merit list and on what authority? And interestingly, he is suing her about his suspension as commissioner too. And isn't that what they are asking for now? So we had, allegedly, a former chairman of the commission suspend our commissioner flippantly, allegedly. And now we have a commissioner messing up promotions for 2,000 officers. Seems like they can't catch themselves, but oh, we dare not touch them. The officers under her are asking for her suspension. We'll see what the commission will do with that. C. Prasad was further accused of knowingly abusing her public power with reckless indifference to the limits and restraints of her power and authority. When she committed her unlawful act, she either had the intention of harming the claimant or committed her unlawful acts with a conscious or reckless indifference. So they're asking about his suspension here. Also, the government would have changed the criteria for the position of CUP in Parliament. Here's an interesting thing here they're asking about. Because in the lawsuit, they're talking about his suspension too. And his suspension had no clear reason, but there was a suggestion there. However, it noted in the said response, the defendant also made reference, to very disturbing information that she had received from the chairman of the National Security Council and a secret report that he had provided to her. The chairman of the National Security Council, by the way, is the Prime Minister. At trial, the claimant will maintain that the said secret report provided no lawful justification or basis for the defendant's actions. Again, so will that report that the Prime Minister gave to the chairman of the commission, will that report show a clear basis for suspension? I would like to see that argued in court. Though prepared ostensibly by 2 persons, it had been signed by 1 person and therefore was of questionable value or no value at all. The 1 signature secret report had been in the possession of the Prime Minister for at least 8 months before he presented it to the defendant at President's house. And the 1 signature secret report had not been sent to any investigating authority over those 8 months and before the Prime Minister presented same to the defendant. It is also said that the Prime Minister had kept the secret report for 8 months without officially sending it to the PSC and presenting it on the same day the chairman deposited the merit list with the office of the president. And the fact that he presented it after 8 months on that same day ought to have raised the suspicion of the defendant and prevented her allowing her conduct to be influenced by same. Now, let's go through this allegation again, because the Prime Minister has touted this all around. The Prime Minister has touted that he received intelligence that was so scary and so dangerous and so disturbing that no way he could have allowed this commissioner to continue. The allegation here is that the Prime Minister got that report 8 months before he gave it to the Police Service Commission. If this was something so disturbing and scary, wouldn't you have lobbied the commission as soon as you got that report? Or would you wait 8 months until the very day? Because this is what the allegation is here. The very day the chairman is going to give the merit list in to the president, you suddenly realize after 8 months how dangerous this report is, and coincidentally stumble upon a meeting with the chairman to give her that report and prevent the and the report being such that she pulls back the merit list. That sounds like it adds up to people. That's why I mean I want this case to be aired out fully, because maybe those aren't the facts of the case, because this is the claim. This is the claim from the claimant here, from Double G and his lawyers. Maybe their claims are ridiculous and untrue, and the government is going to come with a counterclaim and a reason for everything, and it's going to clear up everything and make total sense. But I could tell you that as it stands now, if this claim be true, there are lots of massive holes inside of this. Many massive holes. And you know, remaining on the police and legality issue, I found this article very interesting also. Cops against ad hoc policy on FUL renewals for service members. The Police Service and Welfare Association says it rejects any policy constructed in an ad hoc response to incidents capturing national attention that can be otherwise remedied or mitigated against. This was the association's latest position in response to a change in firearm users' licenses rules for service members. In a January 9th departmental order, Police Commissioner Earl Harewood Christopher rescinded a 2007 order that exempted serving members of the protective service, Defense Force, Customs and Cadets from providing a certificate of competence, certificate of character, and a medical certificate for renewals. So many interesting parts to this. So many interesting parts to this. One, I would like to hear what the Police Social and Welfare Association, the General Association of the rank and file officers of the service, I would like to know what is their view on firearms for the regular public. Somehow, I was trying to look for the article, but I couldn't find it back. I feel like I remember reading before that they weren't for that idea. They don't like the idea of regular civilians getting better access and easier access to firearms. If I recall correctly, maybe I'm wrong. But I'd like to know that, because I have a suspicion the way our General Protective Service speaks, they're not in favor of regular civilians and citizens owning firearms. And it would be very interesting if an entire organization that is not for regular citizens who are in increased danger in this country, having firearms to protect themselves, an association that is against that being all of a sudden upset when the rules are tightened, not that they are prohibited, the rules are just tightened around their access to firearms. Isn't that interesting? In a January 9th departmental order, Police Commissioner Earl Howard Christopher rescinded a 2007 order that exempted serving members. The new order came after several servicemen from the Police Defence Force and prisons were charged with criminal offences, including murder. The order also followed a move by the Commissioner to change the renewal process for long-standing FUL holders. Now, the point made by the association there is correct. The point made by the association is correct. Just because some officers transgress the law, that isn't reason to make it more difficult for the regular officers to be able to access protection. The reality is, people who want to break laws, there's no law you could write to prevent people from breaking the law if they want to break the law. They want to break the law, they will break the law. So writing a law to stop lawbreakers is nonsensical. If you write a law that makes it harder for the law followers, it doesn't do anything against the lawbreakers. But that is the exact argument for allowing more regular citizens to own firearms in the society too. That is exactly the argument, because those laws don't stop the criminals. An armed society is a polite society, the saying goes. Yep, wide leather, yep. In two notices to members over the weekend, the TTPSWA said while it was open to supporting issues and participating in the formation of solutions with all stakeholders in the interest of its members and the police service, it had critically analyzed the new departmental order change and its impact on affected officers. It said it was against any ad hoc policy and offered suggestions on the renewal process for police officers. Now, the association said it disagreed with and rejected the decision, which suggested that training or retraining would result in anything other than business opportunities for those in private practice. It also said it fully supported the 2007 departmental order, which it said was done with logic, rational reasoning, and the full understanding that law enforcement officers, by the nature of their duties, will have a level of firearm experience that is above the average citizen. That is not necessarily true, and that seems a bit dishonest from the police there. They're saying they don't want to increase the requirements for training because that's just a money-making exercise. The private persons will make money off of that retraining exercise. And the police don't need training because the nature of their duties, they have training already. We have seen some of these officers roll, with 5 officers struggling to hold 1 vagrant. That kind of thing. That exactly, Amirali. That not making sense. That not making sense. Business opportunities like TTPS own security companies who receive public contracts. Oh gosh, don't say it like that, wide leather. All the big boys inside TTPS own a security company or work high up in a security company. The crime situation is a business boom for them. Every small grocery that cannot be open because they need a security officer to stop from the everyday robberies, allowing some police on his off day to get a nice piece of money. So what about the infiltration occurring in the police by the criminals? That's nothing new. That's nothing new. At the start of the year, the Commissioner of Police announced that all FUL holders had to renew their permits. Now, this is getting the FUL holders antsy. In a violent, murderous country like ours, our commissioner is suddenly turning and tightening the screws on FUL holders. All FUL holders must now renew their license. And an FUL holder lawyer is kicking a fuss. On Friday, Alfonso again called on the commissioner to hold her hand on the new policy for renewals. She accused the commissioner of putting the proverbial cart before the horse. Alfonso pointed to the section 17.6 of the Firearms Amendment Act, which says FULs granted before the passage of legislation in 2004 will remain valid unless terminated or revoked. Police Service Legal Officer Anya Ramut Mohan promised to issue an official response to Alfonso's concerns by February 1st. She said the commissioner was seeking legal advice. Now listen to this. The lady, the FUL holder, is a lawyer. She's asking the commissioner not to make this decision because the decision doesn't make sense. The legal officer for the police is saying, well, we'll respond to this in a little while. The commissioner is right now seeking legal advice. Listen to the point the lawyer is making and tell me if this doesn't make sense to you also. Alfonso expressed surprise at the admission that the commissioner was seeking advice, describing it as astounding. She also said a request for a short deadline was necessary since the deadline for the renewal process was April. It would be most astounding if, as you seem to be now averring, the commissioner of police proceeded to issue substantive notices affecting a wide cross-section of the public, as well as various internal departmental orders, without the benefit of legal advice. It would indeed be extraordinary if the country's top law enforcement officer were to be actively engaged in encouraging FUL holders to take illegal and wrongful steps in relation to the licensing regime which governs the ownership and use of their firearms. So, Adonis says that directive came from the government, not from the Commissioner of Police. But here's the problem, Adonis. The government does not have that authority. The government is not in charge of overseeing the issuance of firearm user licenses. That authority is under the commissioner, and the commissioner is supposedly an independent entity. The government isn't supposed to have a say or sway on what the commissioner does in terms of that. If the government wants to have influence on the firearm user's license, what the government can do is pass legislation and change laws. If the government did not do that, then it's a policy change coming from the commissioner. The PM made that promise last year that strict policies were coming. Yeah, but he is not the commissioner. Again. And she will now get herself in the issues, taking directives from the political directorate. She's not supposed to work for the Prime Minister. That's not what her job is supposed to be. Her job is supposed to be working for the people as an independent office holder. And won't it be funny? And it seems like that. Yeah, this is the ridiculous thing. I regularly talk about this. Sometimes when the police make some statements, like they don't understand how ridiculous they sound on the what's not being said avenue. Like, okay, you say this, but you don't understand how ridiculous you sound on the what's not being said. When you as a police commissioner say that the TTPS did their best and there were 600 murders, you are saying the best the TTPS could do is more than a murder per day, allowing in an island this size. That's ridiculous. Remember, police equal law enforcement, not creating law, just saying. Yes. The Prime Minister doesn't create law on his say-so. When the PM makes a promise that I will do something, that isn't law. The police are law enforcement. The law they enforce are the laws that they pass through the parliament. There has been no change in the firearm user licensing law. So, how could the police action change? Well, how that happens is based on policies. Policies by those in charge of this organization. Those policies are supposed to be independent of political sway. It is supposed to be, the effect of the Prime Minister telling the Commissioner to do something is nearly supposed to be the same as the effect of the opposition telling the Commissioner to do something. So, and even the Prime Minister, he says this because he knows this. He doesn't control the police. The Minister of National Security, he says this because he knows this. And sometimes it sounds like a bit of an excuse, but he says it. He doesn't control the police. The Minister of National Security is not supposed to be able to make a call to the police commissioner and get anything done on his say-so like that. That's not the order of hierarchy in that. At least it's not supposed to be. So, if you are saying, if you are saying that this came from the Prime Minister, then you are actually selling out that the police service is not an independent entity. This policy came after the audit related to Gary. I know we spoke about the audit and all of that just now, Adonis. And we spoke about Gary's lawsuit based on that audit. The audit that allegedly, according to Gary's lawsuit, which is in court. These are claims made in court. That audit was the allegation that launched that audit was held by the Prime Minister for 8 months until the day that his merit list was going into the President's office. And then released. Then given to the chairman. So, excuse me if I don't buy that this investigation might all be for our good as the citizens. You don't hold on 8 months unto an emergency, dangerous thing saying that the commissioner is a criminal beast. You don't hold 8 months for that, for the opportune political moment. No, that's a political move. And if you are saying that the Prime Minister made a change in the police service policy based on something the Commissioner did without going to the Parliament, then you are saying that the police are under the direct control of a politician in this country. You do understand that that kind of thing is one of the scariest things in countries. You don't want a country where the political directorate has control over the law enforcement. That's how you get opposition members, activists, protesters being arrested for trumped up charges and all of that kind of ridiculous stuff. You don't want a system like that. No police services independent. Police take direction from Ministry of National Security. No, they don't, Adonis. They don't take direction from Ministry of National Security. Do you listen to the Minister of National Security? He tells you what the ministry... Relax. He tells you what the ministry is supposed to do. They are supposed to facilitate and supply the police service, not direct the police service. Adonis, are you an officer? Because usually people who defend the police are strong officers. Are you an officer with the belief that the police are not supposed to be an independent entity? You believe that the police are under the control of the ruling government? That's your honest belief? Only the judiciary is independent. Says who? I am sure Dr. Rowley isn't going to agree with you. He is going to swear up and down this land that we have an independent police service. The police service is supposed to be independent because they are supposed to be, the head of the police service is supposed to be appointed by an independent commission that is appointed by an independent president, supposedly. They take monies from Ministry of National Security, and whosoever distributing monies like that usually dictates what's going on. Usually. Now, I am not saying that the Prime Minister and the National Security Minister do not have influence on the police. I am talking about the supposed to. It is not supposed to be like that. That's not how our system is engineered. The commissioner is not supposed to be a member of the cabinet of PNM, of the ruling PNM. That's not who the commissioner is supposed to be. So, if you are saying that an entire change to the firearm user licensing policy on the TTPS was just made by the say-so of the Prime Minister without legal advice from legal minds on the commissioner's part, then we in real trouble. We in real trouble. And bear in mind, I am not a fool. I know, obviously, the government has influence, and to me, undue influence. I think there shouldn't be a case where a government doesn't want a commissioner, and without a court case, they are able to get him out like that. No, I think if you want the commissioner out as the government like that, you should have to go to court. Prove what you're saying in court. Because I believe Double G should have a right to a defamation lawsuit. Because across the country, the sentiment that nearly everyone has is the reason he wasn't appointed back as commissioner was because he did something so evil and bad. And that was the sentiment put out there by the political leaders. Remember when Kamala was saying empty the clip, PM announced FUL changes were coming? Yes, I remember that. And to me, he wasn't saying changes like changes in policy. What he was talking about then was changes in terms of the corruption inside there, that they were supposed to change that and stop that corruption and all of that. But it wasn't changes based on like that. Set up an independent committee to distribute FULs, help the TTPS by removing some tasks on their plate. White leather, that's always in my view. That's always in my view. I think certain things should be removed from police control. I regularly say this. Like, I say traffic violation enforcement. Traffic violation enforcement, I say leave that to another section. Because whoever enforces traffic violations are going to be hated by the regular people in Trinidad and Tobago. Because we have insane traffic laws, and traffic laws target regular people. By and large, the vast majority of people who are hurt by traffic law violations aren't criminals. They aren't the violent criminals looking to cause chaos in the country. It's regular people. If you want to create enmity between police and regular people, leave them on the traffic violations duty. To me, we already have so many public servants. Grab them traffic wardens, pick up some of them licensing officers that sit on here in fact and let them go and enforce all the traffic violations. You give all the tickets you need to give. Personally, I find you shouldn't really give any, but if you must, and allow the police to get a trusted position. Put the police in a place where they could build that trust, for goodness sakes. Don't put the police in place where it increases the distrust. And it feels like so many policies done by our police service do exactly that. How do the wardens and licensing officers enforce tickets safely? What do you mean enforce them safely? What do you mean by that? Enforce them safely. How do they manage escalation in our volatile and violent culture? There are police for that. That's what the police are for. And this assumption that everyone has, that every other person, that's not true, Adonis. Not true at all. True at all. PNM is centralized planning. That's not conservative, really and truly. Right. I don't, and that's the thing, DJ David, over there on Instagram. I don't want the wardens to arrest. How often do you need to arrest someone for a smooth tire or too dark tint or something like that? How often is an arrest needed for that? And then, if you see it escalating, well, now you have exactly the avenue needed for the police. I don't see. There are traffic wardens right now that go out without police. And the last time I hear somebody violate a traffic warden, it was a police officer. Not a regular citizen, innit? Traffic wardens out in this country years now, without no police backup, without any police backup, doing their thing. Regular citizens hate the ticket, but would take the ticket and ain't do a traffic warden a thing. Yet still, it gets enforced. You said do not have police involved unless I did not understand you clearly. Yes, I did say do not have police involved. You know what that's like to me? Let me see if I could get an example of what I'm thinking there. It's like a health inspector. If a health inspector goes to a restaurant and maybe the restaurant is cooking meth in their kitchen, maybe they're doing some kind of criminal activity. The health inspector goes there, and if upon his investigation he recognizes this is a criminal matter, you involve the police. But imagine if you had police alone doing health inspections. Police going around to all the kitchens and going around to the doubles vendors and taking people's badges, and you would put the police again in a position to be disliked. And personally, I think that view of society comes from our police being a 400-year-old colonial vestige. Because our police act like they're running laws for owners in England who are very afraid that these little native Negras and Indians and them going to get out of control. They're real afraid they're going to get out of control. So we have men with guns and baton at every corner doing everything. That's the feel you get in our society. They are not the only law enforcement, DJ David. They are not the only people that can enforce the law. And that's the point I am making. That is literally the point I am making. There are avenues of law that doesn't make sense using police if you want to increase the trust police have. I agree with you, however, that other entities should be empowered. Licensing is very empowered. Licensing is very empowered. Licensing officers have a lot of power. And I don't think they need a gun. Like, do you expect that on a regular, in a traffic stop, gunmen are going to out their guns and shoot down licensing officers and traffic wardens? Like, I see that as pretty much never going to happen. That's not a thing. That's not how that works. As a criminal, you know, if a licensing officer, no, I don't expect that in today's climate. Ta baby, who waiting to test that theory? Like, I don't know what kind of society you all presume you live in. These are the regular drivers on the road. You think a regular roadblock in Trinidad is going to end with a bad boy shooting down a traffic warden over a ticket? You believe that's a reasonable possibility in this country? I don't see that as happening. I really don't. A roadblock without police, yes. I really don't. I honestly do not see that as of course it's possible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Anything is possible. But I don't see that as a high likelihood. Now, the truth is, my view on firearms is that nearly everyone should legally be able to carry firearms. So, in that sense, I don't mind if everyone is armed. But let me tell you what I don't want. What I don't want is that further colonial society that we seem to love and hug up here in this country, where it's always the colonial authorities have the guns and ammunition, and we are always at their mercy. So we give all the public servants under the control of the politicians the arms, and we are left armless, unarmed. If we remain so strict on FULs in this country, then nah, you'll stay unarmed out there too. If we get stricter on FULs, then by all means, let's all be strapped. Your community gated or no, my community isn't gated. My community isn't gated at all. But I think people function on incentives. I don't think that criminals are mad people. I don't think that they are suicidal. I think they do what they do because they know they are going to get away with it. Nearly no criminal commits a crime that has a high possibility of being caught unless it's a crime of passion. RL, you will get no problem from me there. But yeah, unless it's a crime of passion, criminals are doing crimes they think they're going to get away with. Genuine question, how many criminals have you spoken to from a journalistic perspective on these topics? Too many. I don't think criminals understand consequences. I think you don't get that correct, sir. Here's what I'm saying. A criminal doesn't sit down and plan his pros and cons and weigh both. But in a country where the detection rate is low, crime and criminality will increase. A country where the detection rate is high, crime and criminality will decrease. That's what I'm saying, sir. So, by and large, criminals don't do things that are going to get them caught. That's why, as violent as Trinidad is, with as many corrupt police officers as there are, you don't regularly hear police targeted for murder here in Trinidad and Tobago. There are police that lime in little ghetto old holes all about the place, normal, and they aren't just regularly targeted because criminals don't want that kind of attention and heat. If you are a regular criminal driving around with a 2-3 pounds of weed in your car, you're going to bounce up on a roadblock. with traffic, knowing that these people are in constant communication with police. Very likely there are police circling around. And you're going to shoot a traffic warden over a ticket. I have yet to ever... I would like one of you to look anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world and see if you see an interaction like that. I think some of us have movies in our head when we think about humans and human interactions. I'm not saying humans aren't violent. I'm not saying criminals aren't violent. Every day, you walk past criminals and drive past criminals on the road. They don't just randomly out their gun and kill you. Like, I mean, are there real consequences for criminality here? I can assure you, in this country, if you were to shoot a traffic warden in a roadblock, there will be consequences for that. Laws have to be amended to properly prosecute murders more than just eyewitnesses. I'm not sure what exactly you mean. I mean, like, video footage should be accepted and all that. Tell that to the lady that was caught in the shootout on the highway. The lady by the market. What lady by the market? And if you're talking about the shootout on the highway, that lady was not targeted. Those men were not shooting at her. They were shooting at the other criminals. It was like, I don't understand how you all understand human impetus and human motives. Have you ever heard of an account? DJ David, stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Listen to what I'm saying. Look for an account in the developed world or developing world where a traffic stop led to a criminal murdering those people there. Just like that, in a roadblock. Not like police driving behind and pull you aside. Not like police driving behind and pull aside a criminal and then they try and shoot and escape. A roadblock. And they shoot their way through the roadblock. That's the bank robbers escaping the bank and you pull the spike across the... Those things aren't the regular human functions. It's just... UK, it is common. Okay, if it's common, you'd send me an article like that. Send me an article like that. You send me an article like that and we'll see. The general people who go out like that, traffic stop or set up roadblock. I don't think you're understanding what I'm talking about here, DJ David. Because I'm not saying that you have licensing officers and traffic wardens with siren vehicles driving behind people to pull them over. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those stops you have that they create on 8 o'clock on a school morning, right outside of the school yard, where they have a roadblock and lock up miles of traffic. You know those stops, those kind of roadblocks. First thing Monday morning roadblock. Like, if you want to be a clown in your management of the country, at least don't make the police officers the clowns for you now. Anyway, people, that's all I have for now, people. If there are no further questions or comments on the inside, I will dive out. Anything else? Your disagreement with my perspective is skewing your vision, but let's not disrupt your program. I'll send you a video based on your request. I just don't think so. I just don't think so. I know criminals are violent, but I don't think people function without incentives by and large. There's a logical progression upon which people on which people function. And this argument is similar to the argument that people talk about: if you arm the society, that somehow people are just going to randomly kill each other. People are not going to randomly kill each other if you arm the society, because people are not of that mind. People don't want to just randomly die and kill each other. It's not what happens. Sometimes I see people with some serious road rage, makes me wonder what would happen if they were armed. You know, something interesting, even with serious road rage. Serious road rage often happens with the deadly weapon right there, the vehicle. And many people, if given the opportunity to use the deadly weapon of the vehicle, all the rage they rage, they bubble back down. I actually think if the society was more armed, there will be shooting incidents from road rage, but they wouldn't be very frequent, and it might actually decrease the level of road rage for some people. I'm not talking traffic stop like that, Joe, because those traffic stops are often police stopping vehicles that look suspicious. And one police vehicle stops another vehicle that looks suspicious, and there is a incentive in that case. As a criminal, you wait till the police stops, you shoot them, and you take off. But I am not saying you put traffic wardens in marked vehicles on the highway to pull people over. As I just said, we're talking about the exercises they do. The exercises where they have police officers and the boss, now they have the little ticket machine, and they're standing there just sharing out tickets from a side, like, Have that conversation with a motorcyclist, you're way off there, sir. All right, maybe you know a lot of evil humans. I feel it will be the same with the wardens. What will be the same with the wardens? I know people will hate them. Nah, I just don't feel that's a possibility. I don't feel that's a possibility. Here's how here's how to look at this. In the average roadblock, with the police as is, with the police there, how often do the police end up in a shootout? Have the police ever ended up in a shootout? Okay. How often do they find armed men in those roadblocks? Ask those questions. Ask those questions and look at it. All right. That's all I have for now. We'll discuss further some other time. Remove the police, my guy. For all the good you claim, there will be a certain amount of evil that exists as well. Remove the police, man. Why do you think they are there? Yeah, I know the police are there for a reason, by and large, but not in road traffic issues. The police aren't there in road traffic issues because of violence. The police are there to collect your money. That's why the police are there. Exactly as a control measure to control the society and collect your money. Adriel Robinson over traffic stops? Never. And Joe, do you think if there are licensing officers and traffic wardens that the criminals would purposefully drive through their roadblocks to shoot them up? Or would they do the same thing and say, hey, there's a roadblock there, let's not go? I up till now, I'm just not, no one here has yet to explain to me the logic of this, how this works, and the precedent of it. DJ David says it happens a lot in the UK and the USA. I have yet to see an example. If it happens a lot, there should be an example from this month where they were conducting road exercises, you know, where they have the whole road and they're stopping people there, and they stop a guy and the guy pull out his gun in the middle of all of this traffic and shoot them up. It's only people who want suicide by cop. That's suicide by cop, somebody who wanted to die. But that's not the regular. That's really not the regular. No, I haven't changed my story, DJ David. This is recorded on YouTube. You could go back to YouTube and re-listen what I said from the beginning. Re-listen what I said from the beginning. I have never been talking about pulling people over. Because, all right, that sounds a lot like a plot in Narcos. Yes, White Leather. That is what it is. That is what it is. It's a Narcos plot. It's a TV idea. It's a TV idea that somehow the criminals are just on that kind of piece. By and large, they aren't. By and large. And really and truly, 90% of those exercises happen in between 7 in the morning and 10 in the morning. 7 to 10 in the morning is when they do all that nonsense exercise. Criminals don't even be out that time these days, so them fellas sleeping. They had a hard night last night. They're not even out that time. Really and truly, you just harassing the soccer moms. Mommy who dropping off her children to school, you put her in some traffic. Daddy who going to work and he waiting to save up some money to change them new tires, you give him a ticket. That's who we catch. Like, go look. We have the statistical record of what happens at those roadblocks. You could go look and the police boast about it. How many tickets they give and what they give the tickets for. Go look at it. And tell me if that's a sensible use of the police service in a country with 600 murders per year. You tell me that. All right, people. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. Can I come in, bro? I'm on the way out. Apologies. You can jump in tomorrow. All right, I'm on the way out there, folks. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. I will see you guys again for the next Mindful live session. Yeah, man. Which is going to be tomorrow night around that 9 to 9:30 p.m. time. I hope you all will be there. If you are not yet, be sure to subscribe to Nathan Springer over there on YouTube. And hey, we wholesaling produce. Anybody who has their little stall, fruit stall, veggie stall, link me. We have wholesale. We have wholesale on the agri side over here. Ministry of Bureaucracy. Afuera. Amen, brother. Peace out, people. Later. I'm out. Bye.